It does seem as if the attempted invasion or partial invasion of Ukraine is quite popular in Russia, and it's quite hard. I mean, it seems genuinely so.
I
Now
can
obviously that's
respond to
that's
that,
fed
but
by
go on.
propaganda. There is a lot of propaganda, but there is something here that certainly seems to be Putin seems confident that the message that we deserve to control at least part of Ukraine is a popular message.
Well, let me respond to that because I think, first of all, it's very difficult to even rely on polls because I think
Mhm.
there's been first of all, one thing that I read that kind of blew my mind, and I'm not sure how it compares to here, but like apparently the response rate in telephone surveys in Russia at this point is like 10%. Like 90% when somebody calls and says I'm doing a poll, they just hang up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know how
And
to
I think a
interpret this or
lot of the
understand
time,
it, and
I
I don't
think
think any of
people
us
are
really knows.
genuinely afraid, like, when somebody calls them and I think
Right, right,
people have said that, people in Russia still sort of associate, especially since some of the biggest polling agencies are, affiliated with the state, and, they really do not trust the assurances that, "Oh, this is all completely private and nobody's gonna know, who gave what answer."
No, 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 I
And,
understand,
of
I
course,
understand.
now
I don't
they
want to.
have all these draconian laws that punish.
But it doesn't feel, at least most of the people I'm reading and trying to figure out what's happening over there, it doesn't feel there's a big public revulsion against this war
No,
that's
but
growing. It doesn't feel that's happening, and I
no,
just
let me
what I
can
wanna
I just
here's
point out one thing? Because, yeah, no, there is
yeah,
no big wave of public revulsion, you're completely correct. But there is also no, like, wave of popular support either. I mean, people have and I do think, by the
mm,
way, that when Russia annexed Crimea, that was different because I think at that time there really was a very genuine kind of upsurge of, like, patriotic pride and, like, "Oh, like, the Crimea is ours." Because Crimea was the sort of it's funny because I think for a lot of people, like, back in the Soviet days, Crimea was the sort of status symbol of this cool place where you went on vacation, you know? So in a way, that
right.
was sort of
And as a region, it's very pro-Russian. It's
yeah, it
very,
is. So, yeah,
Russian.
and I
It's
think
different
that's a
than
genuinely complicated issue, and I think there was
mhm,
genuine support in Crimea for joining Russia. I think that is true, and I
mhm.
yeah, and I think in Russia there really was like I think a lot of people at the time were putting these Crimea is ours bumper stickers on their cars. I am told that today, and this is pretty much the consensus. There are really almost no spontaneous expressions of support for the war. Like, there are
Mhm.
virtually no, I mean, unless it's like, people who work for the propaganda channels, like nobody puts, the letter Z, that's the symbol of the special operation. I still have no idea why, by the way. And I mean, like, why do you pick a letter from the Latin alphabet to symbolize this Russian patriotic operation? I have no idea. Anyway, so yeah, like people are not spontaneously like wearing C pins or putting them on
Right,
a chorus. I mean, how many people have volunteered to fight in Ukraine? I mean, they're going
no,
the other way mostly. Like the people,
right.
yeah, I mean,
Well, when you're relying upon mercenaries from
yes,
prisons,
exactly. Yeah,
to be pushed into essentially World War One
I know,
death
I know.
traps in this there's this unbelievable I've read the story, it's an extraordinary story, and I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, if I remember correctly, of the
Yeah, the
Wagner Group
Wagner
just
Group.
cynically providing this funnel of
Yeah,
bodies
yeah,
essentially to tie up Ukrainians
basically,
in one
right,
spot to
right.
prevent a spring offensive, which can't go on forever, but
No,
nonetheless, it
but
does
it's
seem to be
amazing
working
that,
temporarily.
in the year 2022, 23, we're seeing like a replay of the greatest hits of World War One, right? So
We
let's
are,
like
and
let's
it's absolutely and in the same horrifying way. I mean, the
I
sheer
know.
carnage of this kind of warfare, very hard for people to I recommend, by the way, All Quiet on the Western Front,
Yeah,
this
I've been
movie that
meaning
came
to
out
watch
last year from
that on
Germany, which
Netflix.
is it's an extraordinarily good movie, but mainly because it really makes you
Mhm,
recognize what happened in 1914 to
mm.
18, what happened to the psyche of Europe in watching that shit happen, and what is happening currently. This is a war of such horror